Good morning, guys. We always talk about the importance of the journey. So let's talk you through a couple of journeys. Both of these guys, mid to late 40s, both have healthy lifestyles, their diet's in check, and they exercise. They're both runners, actually, marathon runners. And they both presented with a secondary hypogonadism. One likely due to past recreational drug use in his 20s, ex-raver. The other one, no identifiable cause, so it's an idiopathic cause of secondary hypogonadism. One of them's been with me for a couple of years, doing very well. He came for his 6-month review about a couple of months ago now, and he said he's always been really happy, really positive. So it was a bit funny to see him slightly, not to say low, but it was not his usual effervescent self. And he says, I've been feeling a little bit flat. And I said, okay, well, what's changed? So he went through the usual things. And I said, well, how's the running going? And he said, yeah, it's brilliant. I've gone from marathons to running ultra marathons. Bit gutted. I had to pull out of a 100-mile marathon at 83 miles. And I was like, what had actually changed? Well, he'd gone from running marathons to ultra marathons. Running marathons, his levels were perfect. Running ultra marathons, his levels came back slightly low. I think his free T came back about 0.44, I think it was. And previously it had been about 0.6. So the big change had been an increase in his exercise, and so an increase in the utilization of the exogenous testosterone and HCG that we've been giving him. So it makes sense, doesn't it? He'd increased his physical activity, and necessarily was an increase in dose to bring him back to those levels where he felt great. So when you do make dramatic changes in your lifestyle, you have to appreciate that there's likely going to be a necessary change in your protocol. Your body doesn't respond in the same way as it does naturally, obviously, because we're circumventing the HPG axis and replacing the testosterone and replacing the LH with HCG. So we're artificially creating that loop. So if you go from running marathons to ultra marathons, then your levels will drop a little bit, and you may have to make a necessary adjustment to get them back up to where you felt great before. So guy number 2, he's only been with me for about 3 months, and he wasn't that thrilled 3 months in. He was like, yeah, don't really feel any different. But he'd kind of presented with low mood, and he was like, well, yeah. So well, let's go through things. Okay, so we went through the usual stuff. His mood was actually improved. So because the effects of testosterone are insidious, you don't always recognise the change. There's like another guy, it's like, he was going, oh, I don't feel any different. And so we went through all the negative symptoms that he presented with, and go, no, I don't have that anymore, don't have that anymore, don't have that anymore, don't have that anymore. So it's like, so you are better. And he goes, oh, perhaps I am. But it's because it creeps up on you, so it isn't a sudden change. So he said, right, well, I ran 50k yesterday, and I suppose I'm not as tired as I would usually be. In fact, I think I could go out for another run. I'm not going to. I was like, all right, what did you expect from testosterone replacement therapy? You ran 50k, and usually you'd be in trouble the next day, and today you feel like you can go out for another run. I'd say that was a positive. So it goes back to this normalization. We want you guys to feel normal. You can achieve what you want to achieve within reason if you make the necessary adjustments to your lifestyle, your nutrition, and your physical exercise. This is simply about normalization. If you put the hard work in, you can achieve your goals. There's another thing about this guy. So yeah, looking at his blood work, his hemoglobin and hematocrit came down borderline low, unusually low. Now why is that? An endurance athlete. Well, interestingly, he's got a sports anemia. Now we talk about hematocrit quite a lot because there are some absolute idiots who say you don't have to worry about it. Give me strength. So this guy, ultra marathon runner, he'd got a sports anemia. What is a sports anemia? Now essentially, because of the level of activity that he does, he produces more plasma than the average schmo to essentially take away the waste products from the muscles. So the hematocrit doesn't rise to the same degree. So that's a sports anemia. Lance Armstrong. I always chat about Lance when I'm talking about HCT. So when we talk about obviously the free testosterone telling the kidneys to release EPO, which is obviously what Lance Armstrong was using, and come on, let's not kid ourselves, everybody else was using it as well. So he's a scapegoat, but unfortunately a very prominent scapegoat. So yeah, he was increasing his hematocrit. An endurance athlete, high level of plasma, that increasing hematocrit would obviously allow him to carry more oxygen to the tissues, and an endurance event, that was obviously incredibly helpful. So he could cope with an increase in erythropoietin because he'd got the reserves, he'd got the capacity, he'd got the extra plasma. So when we have supraphysiological doses, incorrect injection frequencies, and HCT rises, the hematocrit rises, what happens? Well, some of us are endurance athletes, not me. Power. Trying. So you don't have that reserve, and you're forcing your body to change, so it can't make the necessary adaptations straight away. It's not how the body works, but you're forcing it to change. And what are you forcing it to do? You're forcing it to release erythropoietin to propel the bone marrow to produce red blood cells. So if you've got a fixed volume and you're making it more viscous by increasing the red blood cell count, then you are going to have an issue. What sort of issue are you going to have? Well, you're going to raise the viscosity, which is going to raise the blood pressure, because the blood still has to be pumped around the body. The cardiac demand or load, I keep forgetting which one it is, the cardiac output will have to increase to pump this viscous blood so that your organs are being supplied with oxygenated blood. So it makes sense. Clots, thick blood. So when people make the distinction between polycythemia vera and erythrocytosis and say you don't have to worry about hematocrit, well, they're idiots. The same biomechanical principles apply. So how can you lower hematocrit? Become an endurance athlete, clearly. There you go. So cardio. A lot of you guys don't like cardio, do you? Remembering the heart is a muscle. Exercise the heart. plenty of fluids. So, yeah. What was the purpose of this talk? Who knows? I lose track. Number one, you have to appreciate that if you make major lifestyle changes, then your TRT protocol may have to change. So if you go from running marathons to doing nothing, conversely, your TRT dose may have to decrease. It's fascinating, isn't it? Realistic expectations. TRT will not make you Superman unless you are Superman. You're not Superman. But if you put the hard work in, you can make some small goals and then eventually achieve a big goal. So I want you to appreciate the need to earn that dopamine reward. What else? Sports anemia. That's fascinating, isn't it? I like that. And hematocrit. Do not underemphasize the importance of keeping your body in balance, maintaining normal physiological markers for long-term physical and psychological well-being. Peace out.